Hi friends, thanks for watching this video. I want to tell you a little bit about Brunch Church and our hopes for the future with the Table Philadelphia. But first, I want to tell you a story about a conversation that I was a part of right here in my neighborhood in Germantown, Northwest Philadelphia. Recently, community organizers, nonprofit leaders, business startups, and a host of other people were gathered at a meeting in Germantown discussing some of the things that we could collaborate on to improve the safety, health, and well-being of people in our neighborhood and throughout our city. It was startling to be reminded of the Surgeon General's report last year about loneliness as an epidemic. The Surgeon General has only written one other report in recent times of such magnitude and stark significance, and that was on smoking years before. So loneliness, as we discussed in this meeting, is a really big problem. And during the course of the conversation, people shared their own stories of loneliness and initiatives or hopes and desires for how to move forward. And I was asked to share a little bit about the Table Philly and what we look to do. And I was happy to tell them about how we have for years identified that so many people in this big city live all alone together. We go day through by day without maybe having someone speak our name. We get on public transportation and subways and buses and trains and Ubers, and maybe no one even says our name. We're unknown and unseen, yet we walk together. And we've identified this as a big challenge, the challenge of loneliness. We were not created to be alone, but in community centered on Jesus. And so I shared with them that our faith informs what we do, but we've been starting these public gatherings around tables we call brunch church or dinner church, where we host spiritual conversations, build community and relationships where all people have a seat of belonging. And through that, we form just an ability to know one another and see one another, and also to learn about the story of Jesus and how that impacts our true sense of need and belonging. And through the course of the conversation, there is a local space here in the neighborhood where we had this meeting, and the opportunity has presented itself for us to use that space to start Brunch Church. They want to see that happen. It's going to require a little bit of resourcing, but I'm excited to tell you that there is a space located. There are people leaning into this hope, and we seek your help in making this happen. So let me tell you a little bit about Brunch Church and the Table Philadelphia. The Table Philadelphia is a church made up of communities, smaller localized communities throughout Philadelphia and actually the metro area. We're seeking to tend to Jesus in the ordinary stuff of life, in the everyday things. We seek to create communities of belonging and service in local contexts throughout our city. And we've been doing that. We're starting our fifth table community currently. I'm going to run through a description of what Brunch Church is, what the requirements are for us to have something happen, and share a little bit about our experiences with Brunch Church, and then make a request for you to consider how you could partner with us to work against the epidemic of loneliness in our city. Well, Brunch Church is a gathering for food and spiritual conversations around tables. We come together to build relationship with neighbors and acquaintances. Strangers become friends around the table. We spend time singing together, eating together, praying together. There's a discussion around a passage of the scriptures where everyone interacts. And in this time, we seem to find our place of belonging, where we're welcomed by God through others, and find that God's story is partly applicable to us, that our stories are part of God's story. And then we learn how that fits into our neighborhood. In order for us to host Brunch Church, we need a space. And we've found that the Brunch Church requires a space large enough to seat around 30 people around tables. We've hosted these in much larger spaces where there's plenty of room for 30 people or even more. spaces of 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, and spaces as small as 450 to 500 square feet. But what we found is the best conversations around tables happen with smaller groups of people. It gets a little loud. People feel like they're just part of a larger crowd, and it's something bigger when it's something bigger than 40 people. But 35 to 40 people seems to have the social lines of communication and interaction that's small enough for people to really feel like they're being seen and heard and talk. Additionally, these spaces need to have a place for us to have tables and chairs as well, and oftentimes they do supply that for us. In our previous experiences with Brunch Church, we've hosted these Brunch Church and Dinner Church in multiple parts of the city throughout the years. We started in South Philly, and we had one very regularly there up until the pandemic. We've hosted and continue to at times in West Philadelphia, and we've had some in Northeast Philly as well. Overwhelmingly, the feedback has been positive. People participate and say this is unlike any kind of church gathering they've been a part of, because there's an opportunity for them to share and to be heard, and for their doubts and concerns and questions to be part of the process. You see, and what we found is that people who may be alone, they find a place to share a meal with others. And people who are just curious about spirituality have found conversation partners for their curiosity. And people who have been skeptical or even cynical of the church have found belonging among the people of Jesus. And what we found, this is the key thing, is that when we are able to consistently host brunch church gatherings in a single location, in a local context of about once a month frequency, we have repeatedly seen a wonderful community form within 6 to 12 months. That means that our ability to have the resources to consistently host these brunch churches, for people to have the opportunity to find the regular time to come in and maybe not come back, but then come back again and feel comfortable. We need consistency among our resources of being able to have a space, to locate a space, but also have the people to participate in that space and to host it as well, so that we might continually be a presence for the gospel in our neighborhoods. Here's some images of one of the larger brunch churches that we had in West Philadelphia with close to 60 people. Here's a smaller brunch church gathering back in South Philly. I'm going to ask you to consider how you could partner with us to work against the epidemic of loneliness, to help us set more tables in Philadelphia so that more people might find their story caught up in the story of God. As I said, we have a location secured in Germantown to start a new brunch church, and we're seeking your prayers and financial support, maybe even your participation if you're local, to help us consistently set a brunch church table once a month for the next year. The rental costs and the supplies that we need are estimated at about $500 a month. And so we're seeking 20 new partners to give just $25 a month for the next year to help us launch this good work. If you could give more, that would be fantastic. Perhaps we could start new brunch churches in another location. We're looking out at spaces in other parts of the city as well. But for right now, what we're focused on and prayerfully asking you to consider is being among those 20 people that could give $25 a month for a commitment of 1 year, that we might start a brunch church in Germantown, Philadelphia. So would you, friends, prayerfully consider partnering with us? And if you do want to do that, you can send an email to hello@thetablphilly.org if you have any questions, or go directly to our giving site, to thetablphilly.org/give, and give to the fund Set New Tables. Thanks for your consideration. We value your support and participation with us, and your prayers for us. May you be richly blessed by God as you help us set new tables for belonging amidst the epidemic of loneliness. Grace and peace to you.